here, honey. You're okay. You're okay, baby. You're okay, baby. You're okay.
I should have killed you, bitch! I should have killed your bitch ass! Everybody knows you're alive!
For most people, a jail sentence is the end of the road for criminal offenders. But for some of these monsters, courtroom drama is just the beginning of their twisted legacy. From threatening to kill witnesses to undressing right in full glare of the court, here are the most disrespectful inmates during sentencing. Case number 1, T.J. Lane.
Saying pull the trigger that killed your son, now memory.
Very few cases are as twisted as that of Thomas Michael Lane. On the morning of February 27, 2012, around 7:30 a.m., T.J. Lane, as he's now notoriously known, suddenly stood up in the cafeteria at Chardon High School in Chardon, Ohio, with a loaded .22 caliber handgun and opened fire. The whole school was immediately thrown into pandemonium, with traumatized students hurriedly making frantic 911 calls. Ohio police did their best to respond immediately, but by then, Frank Hall, assistant coach of the school's football team, and teacher Joseph Ricci had already accosted Lane, chasing him away from the cafeteria. They ended up at the school car park, and when police arrived, Lane was arrested outside the school near his car, parked on Wooden Road. The threat of this bizarre shooter might have been neutralized, but the damage of his actions was never going to go away. Lane's shots had hit 6 students. Nate Mueller was the luckiest of the victims, with the bullet only just grazing his right ear. The others weren't as lucky. 16-year-old Daniel Parmenter was dead by the afternoon of that fateful day. Within the next 2 days, Russell King Jr. and Demetrius Hewlin had succumbed to their injuries. Nick Walzak, after being shot 4 times in the arm, neck, cheek, and back, was left paralyzed. 18-year-old Joy Rickers was also treated for gunshot wounds to his buttocks. Due to the severity of his crimes, Lane was charged as an adult with 3 counts of aggravated murder. But in court, things took a rather interesting turn. Lane claimed to hear voices in his head, adding a complicated layer to this already knotty case. His claims were supported by court psychiatrist Philip Resnick, who testified that Lane suffered from hallucinations but maintained that he was well enough to stand trial. But it was during Lane's sentencing on March 19, 2013 that the real drama began. To avoid the death penalty, Lane had already pleaded guilty to the charges he was being indicted for. But when he would finally receive his sentence, Lane was far from meek. He walked into the courtroom wearing a shirt that had the word killer scrolled across it. Even more vexing was his attitude throughout the session. Lane was all smiles and smirks throughout the hearing, unwilling to show any remorse for what he had done. And yet, the most appalling part of it was yet to come. With a brazen face, Lane had this to say to the families of the victims who were present in court.
Saying pull the trigger that killed your son, now masturbates to memory. Love you.
He was eventually sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences without parole and actually escaped from prison in 2014, but was quickly recaptured. Lane's gall might have been sickening to watch, but this next case will have you clenching your teeth in anger. Case number 2, Bass Webb. Over in Paris, Kentucky, 30-year-old Bass Webb was charged with 2 counts of attempted murder in 2014 for a crime he committed years earlier in 2009. Security footage caught Webb trying to ram his geo-tracker into 2 officers, pretrial officer Josh Mason and Deputy Sheriff Ryan Barkley, while they were standing outside the Bourbon County jail garage. Mason was lucky enough to leap out of the way. Unfortunately, Barkley found his leg crushed between the vehicle and a jail wall. In court, Webb was stone-faced, seemingly unfazed by what was happening around him. When the presiding judge, Vanessa Dixon, informed him that she would be excusing herself from the case as she knew the two officers he'd attacked, Webb's response was far from empathetic. Instead, he proceeded to spit at the judge, even eliciting a look of complete shock from his attorney. The following year, Webb was in court again, this time for inciting a jail riot at the Fayette County Detention Center. Along with 4 other inmates, the 5 men refused to follow an officer's directions to take off their shower shoes and put on regular shoes, and soon a riot broke out. It was just a minor disturbance until Webb decided to take things a little further by ripping a metal telephone from the jail wall and throwing it at corrections officer. The phone cracked the officer's riot shield, but the officer was luckily unhurt. The charge, 3rd-degree assault with a sentence of 15 years in prison. He already had a 37-year sentence for the jail garage incident. It made no sense. How could anybody be so intent on destroying their chances of ever getting out of jail? Well, the reasoning behind these bizarre acts of stupidity wasn't far-fetched at all. Turns out, Webb was doing way more than sticking his middle finger at the law. Shocking murder accusations were leveled against Webb, as he was said to have killed not 1, but 2 ex-girlfriends. After the garage crash incident, Webb admitted to killing his ex-girlfriend, 32-year-old Bria Runovich, in Cynthiana. Police eventually found her body in a home on New Lair Road. However, a cold case later saw Webb also accused of killing Sabrina Marie Vaughn in Montgomery County. Vaughn's remains were found on a rural road in Powell County after she had been missing for about 7 years. The nature of Webb's misdemeanors might have changed for a chilling turn, but one thing stayed irritatingly the same: his obscene attitude. He was seen sporting an obscene head tattoo with different hateful statements scribbled across his head. The tattoo was titled "Kill Rats," and on the list of possible rats included judges, prosecutors, cops, and media. He received a further life sentence with probability of parole, which he could be due for as early as 2036. Webb's courtroom antics might have been the result of a twisted criminal, but this next defendant was acting under the influence of something much more out of her control. Case number 3, Penelope Sodo.
What's up?
I believe I heard you saying to...
Yes, I did. I'm not going to the...
I believe you... Did you say...
Yes,
me?
actually, I
Did you say that?
Yes, sir.
In 2013, 18-year-old Penelope Sodo was facing drug possession charges in Miami, Florida, after crashing her motorbike on Southwest Street. A 911 distress call was made, but when officers arrived at the scene, they realized she had been on Xanax when the accident happened, and even found 26 more Xanax bars on her. Barely legal, with her whole life ahead of her, one would expect Sodo to be sober and contrite in court, but when she would face the Miami-Dade Circuit Judge George Rodriguez Shomat, Sodo wasn't just sassy. She was downright rude. While having her counts being read out to her, Sodo remained restless, biting her fingernails and giggling. Her attitude wouldn't improve, not even when it was mentioned that she was a first offender.
Sodo, you working?
Yes.
How much money are you making a week, approximately?
Approximately about $200 a week.
But her rudeness hit a new peak when she was questioned about her assets, especially her jewelry. For some reason, Sodo thought the situation and the judge were funny, but he didn't share her sympathy, instead asking her to be serious.
It's worth a lot of money.
Like what?
Like Rick Ross.
By now, the judge was already growing impatient and annoyed, but Sodo seemed oblivious to the fact, even referencing rapper Rick Ross.
Have you had any kind of drugs in the last 24 hours?
Actually, no.
Actually, no.
Soto's incoherence was becoming frustrating now, so much so that the judge had to ask if she was intoxicated or had used any substances in the last 24 hours, to which she replied in the negative.
What is the standard bond?
It should be,
Ain't gonna be no PTS.
okay, 5,000 on count 1, and then the rest should be ROR.
Eventually, her standard bond was placed at $5,000, yet instead of quietly leaving the dock, Sodo stubbornly remained there until the judge told her to leave.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Come back, ma'am. Come back. come back. Give me the paper again. Count one will be 10,000.
Are you serious?
I am serious. Adios.
But it was her response to that order that changed the whole trajectory of the hearing. This clearly annoyed the judge, who let out a cynical laugh of his own before asking for her to be brought back. This time, he'd had enough of her shenanigans. Her bond was doubled, and the wide-mouthed look of shock on Soto's face said it all. She'd gotten herself into big trouble.
Come back again. Come back again. Bring her back again.
What's up?
I believe I heard you saying to...
Yes, I did. I'm not going to the...
I believe you... Did you say...
Yes,
me?
actually, I
Did you say that?
Yes, sir, I did.
Oh, you did say that?
I'm not
I find you in
gonna lie.
direct criminal contempt. 30 days in the county jail.
Okay, that's fine.
But her gimmicks would only get worse as she let out a middle finger at the judge while leaving. He caught this and asked her to be returned before charging her with criminal contempt and slamming her with a 30-day county jail sentence. Some 4 days later, Soto was back in court, this time a changed, penitent woman.
My behavior was very irrational, and I apologize not only to the court and you, but to my family.
After a few days of seeing what jail life looked like, her old swagger had left her, and now she was even ready to confess to having been intoxicated during her earlier court appearance.
And I normally don't act like that. So,
Let me ask you a third question. Did you use Xanax? Did you take any Xanax Sunday?
yes, I did.
How many?
2.
2?
Thankfully, the judge saw the lighter side of it and had her jail sentence revoked. But while Soto's change of attitude might have softened their judge's heart towards her, this next inmate was hell-bent on proving how much of a nuisance he could be. Case number 4, Alan Boston. In 2020, a 20-year-old Alan Boston from Tennessee was in court for a minor charge of drug possession when he did the unthinkable. Now, ordinarily, he should have been represented by a public attorney, but Boston believed he was eloquent enough to plead his case himself, and pled his case he did. He approached the General Sessions Judge Haywood Berry and launched into a rant about why marijuana should be legalized in Tennessee.
Yes, sir. I think it's very unfair, the marijuana law here. I think we the people deserve that.
But the judge wasn't having any of it.
I've heard that baloney all my life, so don't go any further on that. And if you get a chance, I'll be the happiest man in the world because I won't have.
Instead, he drew the court's attention back to the matter at hand and began scheduling a trial date. But this diversion was all the time Boston needed to throw his disrespectful tantrum. Reaching into his pocket of his jacket, the accused pulled out a cigarette, lit it up, and began smoking right in the full glare of the judge and his court. He was immediately restrained by the court bailiff, the remainder of his speech to the laughing court gallery trailing off into the air. Boston's immature antics were the actions of a total fool, and the consequences were fitting. For his trouble, he was sentenced to 10 days in jail for contempt of court. An extra drug possession charge was added, and he was also slapped with an extra charge of disorderly conduct. Lighting up a cigarette in court might get you a few laughs out of the gallery, but what happens when an accused breaks dressing rules? Case number 5, Austin Boon.
Did you get him? I don't care what you got in there. I don't
You'll get your property.
On March 14, 2018, another 20-year-old, this time a male from Louisville named Austin Boon, was in court for speeding and possession of drug paraphernalia. Boon had been driving 22 miles above the speed limit and was now in court to answer to the charges. But when the Jefferson District Judge, Stephanie Pierceburg, asked him how he wanted to plead, he had this to say.
Austin Boon, how do you plead to the speeding 22 over and a possession of drug paraphernalia on January 23rd?
She told me you say guilty or not.
Apparently, he'd been briefed by his defense attorney, but had since forgotten his solicitor's instructions. So the judge gave him the option of pleading guilty so he could be given the plea agreement that he'd previously made, which he did. In exchange for the guilty plea, he would receive a $44 fine for the speeding charge, plus a $100 fine for the drug charge. He could also attend traffic school, and he would not receive 6 points against his license. Counting court costs, he would have to pay a total of $178. Pretty basic stuff, right? Well, that was until the court bailiff noticed that Boon wasn't properly dressed and was actually sagging his pants. He asked him to fix up, but Boon was adamant, so the bailiff was forced to alert the judge of Boon's indecent dressing.
Yeah. Your pants need to be up when you're in a courtroom.
They are, I'm not.
Sir, up.
They're up.
He's got a belt on, Judge, and they hang around his...
Okay, that's inappropriate. They need to be around your waist, not below your bottom.
Put your pants up. You've been this...
Not below your bottom.
I mean, what's my basketball? Why don't I see my basketball shorts? It's not even like...
Yet, despite the judge's orders, Boon refused to adjust his pants and left them sagging, giving various pointless excuses.
Your belt, you're going to be an adult when you come to court. Do you understand?
Yes, but right now I'm trying to leave court.
You're going to stay a lot longer than you'd like if you don't put your pants up.
Man, they hurt up. What do you want from me, girl?
Have a seat.
Have a seat at your box.
Have a seat. Because I said so.
Now, Boon was being sassy and the judge wasn't having any of it. 15 minutes after being dismissed, Boon was called before the judge again, hopefully with a change of heart. But the only thing that had changed was his bottoms, as he had now ditched the offending pants for a pair of basketball shorts.
Removing your pants was extremely poor judgment. Okay, I'm holding you in contempt. I'm going to sentence you to 7 days to serve for direct contempt of court.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Why?
Because you don't know how to act.
They
like a
couldn't be
grown-up.
high enough for me, so I took them off.
Now, the judge was infuriated. Boon had pushed the envelope too far, and the repercussions were beyond anything he could have ever asked for. In addition to the fine, he was now going to be sentenced to a week in jail for contempt of court. 2 days later, after 48 hours in jail, Boon returned, a beaten, apologetic young man. The judge, Burke, satisfied with his apology, reminded him of the importance of courtroom etiquette before revoking the rest of his sentence. While Boon might have eventually came to his senses about the stupidity of his antics, this next defendant was hell-bent on cussing out everyone in the courtroom with his very last breath. Case number 6, Keith Ferguson. We head over to Kalkaska, Michigan in 2014, where a 40-year-old Keith Ferguson was accused of murder. Ferguson, a father of 4, had fatally shot his estranged 42-year-old wife Tiffany Ferguson and her father James Weber, who was 63. The horrific murders were carried out on November 18, 2014. Ferguson first shot Tiffany in their Cold Springs Township home before taking the couple's 4 children, ages 3, 9, 11, and 13, to their grandparents' home in Excelsior Township. There he shot and killed Weber as the children ran to a neighbor's home for help. Thankfully, the neighbor happened to be a Kalkaska sheriff's deputy who immediately called 911. Realizing his cover had been blown, Ferguson fled to a home on Golden Road in Orange Township where he held a resident hostage. He then called 911 himself to let authorities know he was holding a hostage. He engaged in a 7-hour standoff with police before he was eventually arrested. Police believe the reason behind the murder was due to Tiffany's filing for divorce back in September. The divorce hadn't been finalized yet, as since the couple had children together, it would take 6 months for paperwork to be completed. Records showed that a custody hearing had been scheduled for the following Friday, but Ferguson decided he wouldn't wait that long. In court, Ferguson doubled down on his psychopathic behavior. One would expect that his desire to see his children again would make him remorseful for his crimes, but quite far from that. Ferguson remained adamant.
All right, Mr. Ferguson, can I get you to stand up there at the podium, please? All right, I need to have you raise your right hand for me.
I'm leaving this
Okay,
court.
all right.
Put me back in my cell.
Okay, stop.
Right.
Ferguson was rude to the presiding judge, refusing to take the oath or stand in the podium, which she asked him to. Instead, Ferguson hurled explicitives at the judge and uncouthly expressed his refusal to do any of what he was being told. Eventually, he was charged with 2 counts of open murder, 1 count of kidnapping, 2 counts of possession of explosives, 2 counts of home invasion, 5 counts of having firearms. The result? A life sentence. Ferguson clearly got what was coming to him, but one could almost feel sorry for this next inmate who turned the situation against himself. Case number 7, Jacob Larson.
I want her to tell me to leave her alone.
You know what? I told you to leave her alone. And apparently that didn't get through loud and clear. So today, you're going to jail for 3 days.
We now remain in Michigan, where in December 2013, what should have been just another regular court hearing degenerated into something much more feisty. Jacob Larson was standing, or in this case, sitting before Jackson County Circuit Judge John McBain on a charge of violating a PPO, or personal protection order, that had been placed on him to restrain him from stalking a woman who he'd been allegedly stalking for the past year. Both had met in high school where they were acquaintances, but apparently Larson had been sending unwanted advances to her through Facebook messages, despite her repeated refusal.
Fatal attraction kind of stuff that I warned you about last time. I told you to just leave her alone. She was a classmate of yours. She apparently has no interest in seeing.
I want her to tell me to leave her alone.
Apparently the judge had warned him about the stalking prior to this hearing, even referencing the 1987 movie Fatal Attraction, in which Glenn Close plays an obsessive stalker. Larson rudely cut the judge off mid-sentence, and what he had to say wasn't reasonable at all. His words subtly suggested that the woman might be complicit in the stalking and was possibly even enjoying his unwanted attention.
I told you to leave her alone. And apparently that didn't get through loud and clear. So today, you're going to jail for 3 days.
Now the judge was irritated, and his tone was noticeably much sharper as he sentenced Larson to 3 days in jail for his violation of the PPO. But this didn't go down well with the accused.
Hey, you know what? You got a bad attitude. You had a bad attitude last time you were in court. You were even referencing discussions about my own daughter. Okay?
You and her are buddy-buddy. Y'all get along. Y'all are...
45 days county jail. Okay. 93 days in the county jail. You want to go for a year?
He kept interrupting the judge, and now his unnecessary cut-ins were starting to really annoy McBain. The judge reminded him of his bad attitude in the last court session and the fact that he had even had the gall to mention the judge's daughter. But Larson wouldn't stop butting in, and instead called McBain and his former classmate buddies, insinuating that they were acquaintances and had connived for him to be judged unfairly. This time the judge decided he'd had enough. Larson's sentence was shot up first to 45 days, then 93 when Larson kept talking. McBain even threatened to sentence Larson to up to a year in county jail if he kept interrupting, which Larson said he would appeal. But eventually it was time for the accused to be led away into custody, and that was when the real drama actually began.
Put your hands behind your back.
Now, leave you alone. Tell me to leave you alone. Tell me right now.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind.
Larson refused to cooperate with Jared Schultz, the officer in charge. Instead, he continued speaking to the woman, taunting her. When he wouldn't comply with Schultz's order for him to put his hands behind his back, the little war of words turned into a full-blown scuffle as Larson tried to get out of the officer's hold, stopping him from restraining him.
Tase his ass right now. Put it down. That's such a nut for you. All right, well, get your tase right. I'll bust your fucking arm.
Put my hand behind my back, yeah.
You got my taser out right now. Put your hands behind your back.
The situation got so bad that Judge McBain himself had to take off his robe and join Schultz in his effort to restrain Larson. Eventually, Larson was sentenced to 93 days in the county jail. But if you thought getting a judge out of character was the peak of courtroom thuggery, then this next case will drop your jaw even lower. Case number 8, Jeremy Christian. Jeremy Christian's story is one of the most shocking cases of hate crimes in modern American history. On May 25, 2017, Christian boarded a MAX train and launched into a hateful rant-cum-tirade against Muslims, African Americans, and other groups. When one passenger, Demetria Hester, an African American woman, protested, Christian followed her off the train and was caught by CCTV as he assaulted her by throwing a bottle of water at her eye, injuring her.
That's the free country. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. You don't like it? Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Free speech or die.
The next evening, Christian boarded the exact same train and repeated his behavior from the previous day. This time, he was drinking from the spigot of a plastic bladder of a box sangria as he ranted about everything, from Jews and Muslims to beheadings, Saudi Arabia, Vikings, and even circumcision. The targets of his tirade? Two minors, 16-year-old Destiny Magnum and 17-year-old Muslim Walia Mohammed. This time, however, the setting was different, and the other passengers weren't willing to sit by and let Christian spew his vitriol. One man, Sean Ford, positioned himself between Christian and the girls, trying to block them from Christian's view. Then 21-year-old Micah David Cole Fletcher joined Ford, telling Christian to keep quiet and leave the girls alone. Soon after, another passenger, 23-year-old Taliesin Namkai Mech, stepped in, holding up his phone in an attempt to record the confrontation. Christian lashed out, slapping the phone from Namkai Mech's hand before he could even start recording. He then shoved Fletcher, who pushed back. At that moment, Christian pulled a folding knife from his pocket while using his free hand to shove Namkai Mech as the train came to a stop and the doors opened. The men stood face to face. Standing behind Namkai Mech was 53-year-old Ricky Best. None of them noticed the knife Christian held low at his side. When Fletcher shoved him again, Christian opened the blade and in just 12 seconds slashed the necks of all three men. The elderly Best died on the train. Namkai Mech was rushed to the hospital but eventually succumbed to his wounds. Fletcher, however, was fortunate enough to survive, now carrying a prominent scar that stretches from below his ear nearly to his collarbone. No matter how shocking Christian's crimes were, nothing could prepare you for his behavior in court during the trial. Moving victim impact statements were delivered, with Hester blaming the judge for allowing Christian's inappropriate behavior in previous hearings to slide. But as he spoke, Christian simply shook his head, laughing at an inside joke only he seemed to understand. Eventually, she had this to say to him.
Mr. Jeremy Christian, your mom should have swallowed you. You are a waste of breath. And when you die and go to hell, I hope you rot.
Christian's response was beyond unbelievable. It was horrifying.
See you there.
Now, hey.
Go back to Tennessee, too.
What do I tell you?
Go back to Tennessee, too.
You can.
We don't want you here.
Bye.
All your race baiting bullshit.
Bye.
You ain't gonna be mayor either. You ain't gonna be mayor either.
To cap it all off, Christian even threatened the witness.
George Floyd! I should have killed you! I should have killed you! Everybody knows you're alive! Everybody knows you're alive!
He was removed from the courtroom, and eventually on February 20, 2020, the jury unanimously convicted Christian of 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of first-degree attempted murder, 1 count of first-degree assault, 1 count of second-degree assault, 3 counts of second-degree intimidation, 2 counts of unlawful use of a weapon, and 2 counts of menacing. The sentence, 2 life terms without the possibility of parole. Which of these inmates' obscenities shocked you the most? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.